I never imagined the moment I'd stand in a packed courtroom, heart pounding, only to realize my biggest supporter was about to be branded a fraud. I felt the floor tremble beneath my feet as the bailiff called the case. I glanced up at the gallery, rows of faces blurred by sweat and fluorescent lights. I can't let them see me break. I swallowed hard, my throat tight, and adjusted the stack of papers clutched in my shaking hand. Then I remembered the day it all began, the day she laughed at my dream. Then I remembered how my sponsor had quietly slid that investment contract into my folder, like a lifeline in a storm. Then I remembered the look on the opposing counsel's face when they realized she was backing me. I froze. I couldn't breathe. I forced my legs to move, stepping toward the bench as the judge peered down, gavel poised. Please, let her testimony. Hold, I thought, vision narrowing to the slick surface of the mahogany desk. And then, the murmurs started. You're backing him. The hush rippled through the room, sharp as a blade. What happens next? I remember mornings before the storm. I was just me, Michael, Reyes, project manager at a tech startup in downtown Seattle. Single dad to 6-year-old Emma, and son to aging parents who still believed in fairy tales. I juggled conference calls with bedtime stories. I was proud of how I balanced it all, until it all unraveled. I started my day the same. I jolted awake to Emma's soft voice. Daddy, can I have pancakes? I padded into the kitchen, the dull buzz of the refrigerator and the hiss of the coffee maker grounding me in routine. This is safety. I flipped pancakes in a cast iron skillet, humming a tune Emma made up about Superdad saving the day. Then, I slipped into my navy blazer, the one with a tiny rip at the sleeve, and kissed Emma's forehead. The morning sun streamed through the blinds in golden slats, harmless. I zipped my briefcase, glanced at the photo on my dashboard. Emma, in pigtails, grinning like she owned the world. I arrived at Horizon Innovations just as the elevator dinged. In the lobby, the security guard nodded at me by name. I rode the elevator in silence, planning my pitch meeting, an AI-powered tutoring app that could change lives. I rehearsed, inhale confidence, exhale doubt. Then I met my team in the glass-walled boardroom. The hush of focused engineers tapping at keyboards felt familiar, like a second home. I clicked through slides, market projections, user scenarios, revenue models. I saw nods of approval. I felt the spark of excitement. Afterward, I walked through Pike Place Market with my mentor, Laura Chen. She was the one who first believed in me, a polished investor with steel, gray hair, and a smile that didn't miss a thing. Michael, she said, her voice calm, you've built something real, but you need a sponsor to break through. Someone who sees beyond the numbers. She slipped an envelope into my hand. This is it. That evening, Emma tugged on my sleeve, pointing at a sketch I'd doodled on a napkin, a robot guiding a child through homework. Is that my tutor robot, Daddy? She asked. Yes, I said, ruffling her hair. Someday, you'll use it, she beamed. I tucked the napkin into my jacket. Dreams feel real here. I called my parents that night. Dinner tomorrow, my mum asked, worry in her voice. Of course, I promised. I hung up, staring at the envelope on my desk, my heart pounding. I peeled it open. Inside was Laura's endorsement and a term sheet, an offer to bankroll my project to the tune of $500,000. I felt lightheaded. I sank into my chair, the hum of my laptop fan echoing in the quiet room. I did it. I dialed Laura. Her voice crackled through the speaker. Be ready for the big reveal next week. You'll change your life and hers. For a week, I floated. I showed Emma the term sheet in crayon. We got the money. She clapped and danced, sticky with apple juice. I told my parents at dinner, I'm starting my own company. My dad's eyes glistened. My mum trembled with pride. This is what happy families look like. I spent nights drafting incorporation papers and refining slide decks. I rehearsed my pitch in the mirror, feeling a twist of nerves. What if they laugh? But every time I felt fear, I pictured Emma's face and remembered Laura's faith. The day of the sponsor meeting arrived. I entered the boardroom early, smoothing my tie. Then I saw Hercule Donovan, my project's sponsor, a titan in the venture world with an icy laugh that cut sharper than glass. She lounged at the head of the table, thumbs tapping on her phone. I cleared my throat. Good morning, Ms. Donovan. Thank you for your time. She lifted her gaze, brows arching. Here we go. I launched into my pitch, the tutoring app, the market gap, the life-changing potential. I watched her expression flicker interest, or amusement. Halfway through, she chuckled. "You think this will work?" she asked, voice low. My pulse thudded. "Don't back down." I straightened. Yes, I pressed on. Then she leaned back, folding her arms. "Show me the contract." My heart leaped. I handed her Laura's term sheet. She scanned it, eyes narrowing. Then she laughed again, this time louder, harder. It rattled the glass walls. The investors around her tittered. My face burned. Then she looked up and said, "You're out of your league, kid." I froze. I couldn't breathe. And then, what happens when the one person who promised to stand by you betrays you at the first sign of risk? I thought her laugh was the worst. I was wrong. I sat at my desk the morning after Claire's mockery, listening to the hiss of the HVAC like a judge's whisper in my ear. How could she betray me so quickly? I stared at the blinking cursor on my email draft. "Thank you for your feedback." My hands hovered. Then I deleted the draft. Then Claire began her quiet campaign. In every board meeting, she'd lean forward, eyebrows raised, and whisper criticisms that spread like ink. "Your projections are overly optimistic. Have you researched consumer adoption rates?" At first, I tried to counter with data, but she'd glance at my charts, smirk and say, "Numbers can lie." The room would shift. I'd feel the walls closing in, and then she started changing deadlines. One afternoon, I got a curt email. "Please have the revised prototype ready." By Friday, I glanced at my calendar. I'd planned for a month. Friday, panic flared. I called my engineer. He groaned. "How am I supposed to build a working prototype in 2 days?" I spent that night rewriting code, coffee burning my lips. I arrived at the demo on Friday at dawn. The conference room was already lit. The investors gathered in folding chairs. Claire sat at the front, feet crossed, arms folded. I flicked the power switch on the projector, heart racing. The screen flickered to life, then glitched. My breathing hitched. "Not now." I rebooted, cheeks hot. The glitch wasn't my fault. But I saw Claire's lips curl into that cold smile as everyone murmured. Then she leaned over to one of the investors and murmured something I couldn't hear. But I knew it was damning. My slides advanced manually, and my engine sputtered through the demo. I finished 2 polite applause that felt like pity. I sank into the chair, sliding down until I could hide behind my laptop. "I'm failing." And then the whispers began. "Maybe this was too big for him. Did you see the glitch?" I felt dizzy. I can't let this succeed without her approval, but she's bent on watching me fail. I called Laura that night. She answered, calm as ever. "They told me about the prototype glitch," she said. "Don't let it derail you. Push back on Claire's deadlines." I closed my eyes, pressing my forehead to the cool glass of my office window. She's my sponsor. How can I push back? For weeks, my life became a blur of tension and self-doubt. Claire would send emails at all hours, demanding updates, questioning every assumption. The more I complied, the more impossible her demands became. She'd change meeting times last minute, then accuse me of being unprepared. She'd request one-on-one calls, and then ask me to explain why I was dragging my feet. One afternoon, she cornered me outside the boardroom. The hallway lights flickered as she closed the distance. "Michael," she whispered, voice silk over steel, "if you can't pick up the pace, I'll withdraw support. I have better options." I swallowed, mouth dry. Options, but I thought we were partners. My legs trembled as she walked away, heels clicking like a countdown. That empty click echoed in my chest. "You're on your own now." I stumbled back to my office, collapsing into my chair. I rubbed my temples and stared at Emma's sketch taped to my monitor, a robot and a child holding hands. "You believe in me. Don't let her break you." I started questioning every move. I rewrote the code, reworked the deck, ran endless simulations. I hardly slept. When I closed my eyes, I saw Claire's face, silhouette in boardroom light. She's right time in over my head. Self-doubt seeped into my bones. Then, the gaslighting began. In a group call, she'd praise my effort, but in the next breath, criticize the same slide I'd just updated. "Good work, Michael," she'd say. Then, though I'm not sure the UI is intuitive enough, I blinked, scrolling back through my emails. Had I updated the UI, or hadn't I? Her words left me dizzy. Did I forget? Was I negligent? I started double, triple checking every detail, running through checklists at midnight. My world narrowed to bullet points and schedules. I listened to every tone in Claire's voice, past every comma in her messages. She's testing me, but to what end? And then, Emma knocked on my office door one evening. She peeked in, her eyes wide. "Daddy," she whispered, "are we going to lose our home if your robot doesn't work?" I froze mid-breath, staring at her hopeful face. "No, please, no." I knelt and pulled her into my arms, rocking her gently. "No, sweetheart," I said, voice catching. "I'm going to make this work." But her gaze lingered on my trembling hands. I held her tighter, heart pounding like the gavel in that courtroom. What happens when your child's faith becomes the softest ground beneath you and it's the only thing you have left? Asterisk. I reached my breaking point the night the lights went out. I sat alone in the office, the glow of my laptop, the only beacon in the dark. I'm drowning. My heart pounded like a drumline in my ears. I rubbed my eyes until they stung and reached for my phone. 3 missed calls from Claire, 2 unread emails marked urgent. My chest tightened. Then, the power flickered and died. The hum of the server racks fell silent. The LED on my router blinked off, pitch black. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was accusing. What have I done? I rose and fumbled for my jacket in the pitch, my breathing hitched, pulse racing. I pressed my back to the wall, the rough concrete cold against my palm. I can't do this alone. Then a soft knock at the window startled me. I spun around. Emma's small face appeared in the glass, eyes shining with concern. "Daddy, are you okay?" I threw open the window and scooped her into my arms. Her sneakers tapped on the floor, and the scent of her juiced-up hair hit me warm, reassuring. She wrapped her arms around my neck. "I heard noises," she whispered. "You sounded sad then." I realized I hadn't eaten all day. My stomach knotted. I hugged her tighter. "I'm sorry, pumpkin," I said, voice trembling. I got stuck. She tilted her head, eyes wide. "Did Claire scare you?" My throat closed. I should have protected her from all this. My hand shook as I stroked her hair. She shouldn't know about Claire. Then, Emma pulled a crumpled napkin from her pocket. It was the doodle I'd shown her weeks ago. "You said you'd build me a tutor robot," she said, voice firm. "You can do it, Daddy." I blinked back tears as her tiny fist pounded my chest. She believes in me more than I believe in myself. Then, the office door banged open. Laura stood in the frame, silhouette lit by the stairwell light. Her face was grave. "Michael, the court date's moved up." My heart stalled. Court date. I remembered. Claire had sued to block my funding, claiming the contract was invalid. The case had been scheduled for next month, but today's hearing, I hadn't prepared that. Then I saw the calendar on the wall, the red circle around June 29th. Today, of course, it's today. I blinked as panic surged. What do we do?" Laura stepped in, closing the window behind her. "We fight," she said, pulling out a file folder. The hush of her movement was louder than any storm. "I have witness statements, email logs, proof Claire manipulated the contract terms after signing." I sank into the conference chair, legs numb. The rain began to patter against the window, each drop like a ticking clock. Time is running out. Then, I realized I'd never reviewed those documents. My hands shook as I took the folder. The pages felt slick with sweat. Laura knelt beside me. "We can't enter the courtroom like this," she whispered. "You need to testify." I looked at Emma, curled into my lap, her eyelash brush hands clutching my shirt. "I can't break here." Then, the lights snapped back on. The monitor flickered, reviving the screen with my pitch deck. It felt like a rebirth and a cruel reminder of everything at stake. My phone buzzed. Claire's name on the caller ID. My finger hovered. Should I answer? No. I pressed ignore. Then, the doorbell chimed. The bailiff's voice echoed down the hall. "Mr. Reyes, the judge will see you now." My pulse thundered as I rose, Emma's grip still on my leg. I knelt and kissed her forehead. "Stay with Laura," I whispered. "I'll be back." She nodded, tears glistening. "Promise." I swallowed, voice raw. "I promise." Then I straightened my tie, squared my shoulders, and stepped into the corridor. My breath hitched at the threshold of the courtroom door, where the judge's name plate gleamed in the overhead light. What happens when the only thing standing between you and ruin is your own testimony and the truth you're terrified to reveal? I felt my legs give way as I entered the courtroom, the hush swallowing my footsteps. I clutched Laura's folder like a lifeline. This is it. The stained wood benches gleamed under cold spotlights, and the air smelled of old leather and inked affidavits. I approached the stand, swallowing the lump in my throat. The bailiff nodded, and I placed my trembling hands on the witness box rail. The judge peered down, eyes inscrutable. Breathe. Then, the prosecuting counsel rose, slender frame draped in black robes. She smirked, lifeless. Mr. Reyes, your sponsor, Miss Donovan, claims you forged the investment contract to mislead investors. How do you plead? I felt my pulse pound in my ears. I'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. Your Honor, I began, voice shaky. I did not forge anything. My throat rasped, but I pressed on. I present Exhibit A, an unaltered, time-stamped copy of the original contract, sent directly from Ms. Donovan's legal counsel on May 14th. 2025. I slid the printout across the rail. The judge scanned it, his pen scratched on the docket. Please hold then. I glanced toward the spectator gallery. Claire sat smug, arms crossed. Next to her my sister Maria, dressed in muted navy, eyes red-rimmed. She came. Laura rose and approached counsel table. She placed a small USB drive on the clerk's desk. Your Honor, with permission, I'd like to introduce video testimony from Ms. Donovan's assistant, recorded on June 2nd, detailing Ms. Donovan's explicit instructions to alter the terms only if market conditions soured. The judge raised an eyebrow. Proceed. A court tech dimmed the lights. We all watched the grainy footage. Claire, phone in hand, pacing an office. Make the clause conditional on milestones, she said, voice clear. If he fails, we withdraw immediately. Do not mention this to Michael. She paused. We need control. My chest constricted. She deliberately set me up. The gallery gasped. Claire's face drained of color. Then, Laura handed me a stack of printed emails, time-stamped chains, showing Claire's post-signature edits. Exhibit B, she said. These emails were never disclosed before. They prove Ms. Donovan backdated her addendum on June 5th. Aftermarket rumors. I stepped forward. Your Honor, these are not my changes. I received the signed contract May 14th. Any modifications after that date were made without my knowledge. My voice grew steadier as I spoke. I asked this court to recognize the original contract's validity and hold Ms. Donovan accountable for her manipulation. Then the court clerk called my sister to the stand. Maria walked up, clutching her purse. She cleared her throat, gaze on Claire. I was in that office on June 2nd, she testified. Claire whispered to me her doubts about Michael's abilities, then instructed her assistant to hide the amendment. She said she wanted an exit plan. I stared at Maria, relief and pride flooding me. She saved me. Claire rose to object, face flushed. Objection, hearsay. But the judge shook his gavel. Overruled. The assistant's testimony and the email logs are admissible under the business records exception. Claire sank back into her chair, her voice gone. Then, the judge leaned forward. Mr. Reyes, counsel has established Ms. Donovan's tampering. I hereby reinstate the original agreement and order Ms. Donovan to fulfill her funding obligations immediately. Additionally, the court finds her in contempt for bad faith conduct and awards you legal fees. My breath caught. The gavel came down. Thwack. My heart pounded like a stampede. I looked at Emma's doodle taped to the folder, tutor robot and child hand in hand. Tears blurred my vision. We did it. Laura gave me a small nod from beside the counsel table, her stoic mask cracked with a proud smile. Maria reached over, grasping my hand. Her squeeze grounded me. Then the bailiff stepped forward. Court is adjourned. The room erupted, some in applause, some in stunned chatter. I slid from the witness box, each step light as air. Claire's eyes met mine defeated. I didn't look away. This is truth. I stood in the aisle as Laura and Maria flanked me. Emma, escorted in by the bailiff, after waiting in an anteroom, ran into my arms. Her small arms squeezed my waist. She whispered, "You were so brave, Daddy." I knelt and picked her up, tears slipping down my cheeks. "I love you," I choked out. And then, the courtroom door swung open, sunlight pouring. In like a benediction, I raised Emma high, the light haloing her head. "We're free." Asterisk, asterisk. I stepped out of the courtroom into a swarm of cameras and reporters, the bright flashes stabbing at my eyes. I made it. My legs trembled as Laura guided Emma and me toward the waiting car. The hum of the city felt alive, different. From the suffocating hush inside those walls, I climbed into the back seat, cradling Emma on my lap. She clutched her favorite stuffed bear button. "Daddy, are we okay now?" she asked, voice small amid the chaos. I pressed her head to my chest and felt her steady heartbeat. "We're more than okay, sweetheart. We're unstoppable." Then, the driver opened the door at Horizon's headquarters. I stepped onto the sidewalk, the glass facade gleaming like a promise. I spotted investors clustered on the steps, some offering congratulations, others waiting to shake my hand. Laura stayed close, Mary's victory smile lighting up her face. I walked through the lobby, the click of my shoes echoing. The receptionist nodded as if greeting royalty. "This is real." I felt the contract folder heavy in my coat pocket. It wasn't a burden anymore, was proof. Then, I found Claire in the corner office, packing her briefcase with glossy resignation letters. She glanced up, eyes hollow. I considered confronting her, but something inside me had shifted. "No more fights." I approached, heart steady. "Claire," I said, voice calm. She paused, bag in hand. She looked away. "Mr. Reyes." I held out the contract folder. "This is yours now," I said. "You'll honor the terms." She swallowed. "Yes." I nodded. "Thank you." Then, she closed her briefcase and left without another word. I returned to my office empty for weeks, but now alive. I sat at my desk, opened the window, and felt the Pacific breeze. I took out Emma's napkin sketch, smoothed the creases, and taped it above my monitor. Home. Later that afternoon, the boardroom filled again, this time for our celebratory launch. Investors, engineers, even Emma's preschool teacher squeezed in. I stood at the head of the table, Laura by my side. My voice didn't tremble anymore. "I'm honored by your faith," I began, "and humbled by this journey." I clicked the remote. The slide showed our prototype, an AI tutor guiding children through algebra with gentle encouragement. Then I played a short video, Emma sitting with the tutor, smile wide. The room erupted in applause, but I saw only her face, her boundless wonder. This is why I fought. After the celebration, I stepped outside to call my parents. Their home phone rang, and my mum picked up immediately. "Michael, is it true?" she whispered, voice shaking with relief. "Yes, Mum," I said, leaning against the brick wall. "It's true." I exhaled, tension melting. "Your son is officially a founder." She laughed through tears. "We're so proud." I smiled at the setting sun. "Wait until you see the office. You'll be the first to test it." Then, I tucked my phone away and walked to the playground across the street. Emma bounded to me, face flushed with excitement. She climbed into my arms, swinging her legs. I swung her gently, the metal chains creaking like applause. She pointed at the sky. "Daddy, look, clouds look like robots." I laughed and kissed her forehead. "That's our world," I said. "A world where dreams come true." Then, I thought of the courtroom, of every doubt and betrayal. I almost lost everything. But here, under the open sky, with Emma's laughter ringing out, I felt invincible. That night, I tucked her into bed. She hugged Button tight and whispered, "Thank you for saving my robot, Daddy." I stroked her hair. "I'll always save your dreams." I closed her door and paused in the hallway, listening to her soft breathing. The house felt tender, safe. This is what victory feels like. I returned to my desk and typed a single line into my draft for the next day. "Truth has a heartbeat." Then I shut the laptop and stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker on. This is just the beginning. I learned that truth doesn't beg for belief, demands it. I learned that when your world shatters, the fragments can build something stronger. I learned that a child's faith can light the darkest courtroom. I know now that every doubt I felt was a waypoint, not a wall. I faced the laughter, the gaslighting, the betrayal. I faced the storm and I discovered my own strength. I believe you have that strength, too. If you've ever been underestimated, silenced, or told your dream was impossible, remember, the contract you need is the one you write with grit and truth. I promise you this, your story matters. Your voice matters. Your fight matters. If you've ever felt unheard, comment below with, "I've got my own contract," and share your story. If you believe in the underdog, hit that like button. Let the world know you stand with fighters. And if you want more confessions, more courtroom showdowns, more proof that truth wins, subscribe and ring the bell. I'm Michael Reyes. I stood my ground. And now, I invite you to stand yours. What's your fight?